In this video, we're going to take a look at getting into trigonometry. I know that word sounds very scary, but its literal translation just means triangle measure. The focus on trigonometry is going to be using these three ratios. So just remember, a ratio is just a comparison of two or more quantities. So these three ratios are just going to compare the side lengths of a right triangle. And that's basically it. A lot of people, as I mentioned, get really scared when they hear trigonometry. It seems a little confusing, but really at the end of the day, all it is looking at comparing sides of a right triangle. So just to remember a couple things about right triangles, we've got a right angle. So here, angle C is that right angle. The two sides that make the right angle we call the legs, and the longer side opposite that 90-degree angle we call the hypotenuse. So depending on where we are, like if we were standing over at angle A, if we're standing there, the legs have different names. So if I'm standing at A, then CB would be opposite to me because that's away from me. And then AC would be what we call adjacent because that's right next to me. But then if I walk over to angle B, there its vertex at B, then those kind of swap places. Then AC would be opposite to me because AC would be away from me, and then CB would be adjacent to me. So we need to keep that in mind. We're always going to be looking from the point of view of one of those acute angles in a right triangle, and based on one of those acute angles where we are, that'll determine which leg is opposite and which leg is adjacent. And then the hypotenuse will always just stay hypotenuse. So the three ratios we're going to look at, they have some funny names. The first one is called the sine ratio. So the sine ratio is really just the comparison of your opposite leg to your hypotenuse. So I need to know, just as I mentioned, where I'm standing or where our point of view is in order to know what is my opposite leg. If I'm not told that I'm standing at A or B, I don't know which leg is opposite and which leg is adjacent. So we need to be told that. So the notation we're going to use for sine, we're going to use SIN as a short, and they're going to tell us which angle. So here, sine B, that just means if you're standing at that vertex at B, then sine B would be the ratio of AC to AB because AC is your opposite leg and AB is your hypotenuse. If you switch your point of view and you're standing over at A, then CB is your opposite leg. So then your sine ratio from the point of view of angle A would be CB to AB. Notice also I'm using the colon notation for these ratios. We typically are going to use fractions. So like opposite over hypotenuse would be for sine. Now for cosine, this is another kind of funny name. This is a different ratio. It's comparing the adjacent leg to your hypotenuse. So we're going to use a short COS for cosine. And just like with sine, I need to know what angle I'm standing at or what point of view I'm taking. Because if I don't have that, I don't know which leg is adjacent and which leg is opposite. So cos of B or cosine of B would mean if I'm looking from the point of view of B, then CB would be my adjacent leg and AB is still my hypotenuse. So that would be CB over AB is the cosine ratio from the point of view of angle B. And obviously, if you switch your point of view, cosine of A would be AC to AB. I can't talk today. And so just keep in mind, for any of these trig ratios, we need to know what angle we're looking from. If we don't know what angle we're looking from, then they kind of don't really make any sense. The last trig ratio, and notice I said trig, short for trigonometry, is the tangent ratio. So tangent is the ratio of opposite leg to adjacent leg. So this one doesn't have the hypotenuse in it like sine and cosine. So if I'm looking from the point of view of B, then tangent of B, we'll say TAN for tangent, is AC divided by CB. And if I change my point of view, tangent of A would be CB to AC because that's my opposite leg compared to my adjacent leg. So you'll really want to know these ratios, memorize them as soon as you get a chance. There's a really nice acronym, SOHCAHTOA. If you don't know that, you could Google it. It'll come right up. That's an easy way to memorize these three ratios. And really, I can't emphasize enough, At the end of the day, that's all we're looking at is comparing sides of a right triangle. Now we're going to use that to find measurements, maybe lengths or angles. But for now, really just keep in mind we're comparing different sides and that's it. So that should be enough to get you started on 8.4.